This is the final battle. With you at my side, we will demolish the deep state. We will expel the warmongers from our government. We will drive out the globalists. We will cast out the communists, Marxists, and fascists. We will throw off the sick political class that hates our country. We will rout the fake news media, and we will liberate America from these villains once and for all.
All right, folks. Well, as I'm sure you've heard by now, Donald Trump was just found guilty of all 34 criminal counts in the New York trial. And we did do a live stream reacting to that verdict as it came out, if you want to go check that out. But look, folks, there's a lot I could say about this case. But at this point, does it really matter? Because the truth is, the entire thing was rigged and decided from the start, because we knew even before the trial began that the prosecutors had a very weak argument. Even CNN and liberal outlets were saying this is the weakest of the 4 Trump cases, but we were dealing with who? Judge Merchan, who is a Democrat. You know, his family's out here fundraising for Joe Biden as the trial was going on. And so he was obviously going to be a crooked and corrupt and conflicted individual. But on top of that, who was on this jury? Well, we never really knew, but assuming it was in Manhattan, you know, a place that went to Joe Biden by 1 million points, clearly the entire thing was decided from the beginning. And we knew that from the second that the verdict came out, only 2 days after the proceedings finished there, right? They already made up their minds. They knew what they were going to do. And I guess we just have to deal with it now. So again, I'm not going to tell you anything you don't already know. This is lawfare. This is the Democrats' kind of Hail Mary to try to stop the momentum that is currently Donald Trump's campaign. Joe Biden is getting killed in the polls. The economy is not in his favor. Immigration, the global stage, there's not a single issue that is relevant to Americans that Joe Biden beats Donald Trump on. And so this is their play to try to win the election, try to change the election. It's very corrupt. It's a dark day truly for America, but that's why we, the American people, have to push back against it. Okay, that's what we have to do. But anyways, before we get into all of that, I do want to play here was Donald Trump's reaction coming out of the courtroom, hearing the verdict, and his response to all of that.
It was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. They wouldn't give us a venue change. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. You have a Soros-backed DA and the whole thing. We didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent. And I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end, and we'll win, because our country's gone to hell. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a divided mess. We're a nation in decline, serious decline. Millions and millions of people pouring into our country right now, from prisons and from mental institutions, terrorists, and they're taking over our country. We have a country that's in big trouble, but this was a rigged decision right from day one, with a conflicted judge who should have never been allowed to try this case, never. And we will fight for our Constitution. This is long from over. Thank you very much.
And that's so true. As dark of a day as this is for America, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to underplay how bad of a precedent this is for American politics and the so-called democracy that these people claim to cherish so much. But with that in mind, yes, we, the American people, are the true judge and jury. The real verdict is on November 5th, 2024. And that's why you got to show up to vote. And that's why we're all 10 times more enthused to go vote for Trump right now. But even then, on top of that, I will say this, and I want to make this clear in this video. This is not the time to get demoralized. This is the time to rally, truly. Don't fall victim now. Okay, now is not the time to fall into any of the dooming or the argument that, oh, I shouldn't vote because it's all rigged anyway. That's exactly what they want you to think. They are trying to demoralize you by doing this. That's why you gotta show out and do the opposite. And I gotta call this out, some conservatives, especially the people who supported DeSantis or another candidate in the race, they're saying something like this. They're basically saying that, look, this is the reason, okay? Yeah, it's corrupt lawfare, but this is why Trump's gonna lose and why we shouldn't have picked Trump in the first place. This Twitter user goes out and says, regarding Trump, this conviction was precisely the reason why we advocated for actually having a primary rather than handing the presidential nomination on a silver platter. Trump should have never been given the nomination, to which I say, I understand the argument. I do. Look, it's too much liability to deal with. Do you really want to deal with the convicted felon label when you're trying to convince independent voters? But what I say in response is this. That is an argument of cowardice. It really is. Okay? Because if you acknowledge that this is lawfare against Trump, if you acknowledge that the regime is after him, you're going to stand around after all of that and say, yeah, but we should cave into it. We should give into it. Look, they're going too hard on Trump, even though they're going to go hard on anyone who's truly on our side. But they're going too hard on Trump. So I think we should just choose another candidate, have less liability, have less baggage, whatever it is, to which I say, no, that is a coward's opinion. Okay, now is not the time to pick another hill to die on. No, this is the hill to die on. Truly it is. Okay, it's no more ducking our problems. This is it. This is the battle that needs to be fought. Truly. Because as bad of a precedent as this is, as dark of a day as this is for our country, keep this in mind. If they can do this to Donald Trump and get away with it, then they're going to do it to every Republican who's, again, at least not compromised by the establishment in the future. The only way that we can reject this, the only way that we, the American people, can say, no, this is the wrong way to go about it, you do not throw your political candidate in jail just to stop him, is by soundly repudiating what they have done in November by checking that ballot box there, again, folks, for Donald J. Trump. So that's my message to you. Now, in terms of analysis, in terms of the bigger picture in the election, what do I think this is going to do? How much of an impact do I think this is going to have? Well, let's start here by posing the question of what exactly they do to Donald Trump, because I think that is going to have an effect in itself, right? Do they just kind of, put him on probation, maybe give him some fines, but they let him walk free? Are they going to go as far as throwing him in jail? Some people are speculating they might try to put him on house arrest. So in other words, he can't campaign, he can't debate Biden, he can't do anything. Basically try to suspend the Trump campaign for now. And so check this out. We got the news a little bit after the verdict that Judge Merchan has set President Trump's sentencing for July 11th. And why is that significant? Because the Republican National Convention is going to be on July 15th to July 19th. So what are they trying to do there? At least in theory, again, who knows what's actually going to happen? But it seems to me, hey, if they can throw him in jail right before the RNC, he can't make a speech, or he's on house arrest or probation, or even just the drama of it will sort of tamper the news around the RNC. This is obvious election interference. That's obviously what they are trying to do. And I would say the same in regards to the appeals process, because that's what it's now going to go up to, right? Trump is going to try to appeal. And honestly, although I think his chances there are decent, we're still dealing with a New York court. And sure, it may not be a Manhattan court, but do you really have such strong faith that a New York Superior Court of Appeals is going to be any different than the Manhattan one? They're all crooked. They're all a joke. And that's why I really think Trump's only path here is he has to win in November and be able to pardon himself, or they're not going to be able to do anything about him. But still, okay, regardless, that's the game plan, right? Use the sentencing to mess with the RNC. They're going to move the appeal likely to after the election. I can almost guarantee you that. You think they're going to give him an appeal of his conviction before November? No, they want to screw it up so that way Democrats can run all the way to November 5th, 2024 and say Trump is a convicted felon. And then watch. If it does get overturned, you'll probably hear that news on what? November 6th, November 7th. We've seen that story before. But okay, I guess the question now is this going to sway people's votes? To tell you the truth, on a big picture, I have no idea. I do know two things. First of all, this is going to energize the Democrats because the Democrats are now saying, haha, we got them. They're taking their victory lap. But equally, or I'd argue probably much more, it's going to energize the Republican side, the Trump base. I mean, we're all, donating to Trump even more now, voting for him.
Trump's website is down right now. If you can go to people wanting to donate, so you're seeing how people are reacting. Refresh it. It's down. Go to the next one. Under maintenance. Okay, now it's back. Never surrender. Can you now give money or no? If you can go lower, complete my, you can. Okay, so this one's back up, which means, what does this tell you? So traffic is going so much to the website.
His fundraising is going to go up, all of that. I think the real question is, how does it affect the center? How does it affect the independent and undecided voters? And I still think, that's variable. That's something we'll have to see, because on one hand, yes, it was a weak case. Yes, by polls, most Americans did not really care about this. They weren't watching it. Their opinion wasn't swayed by it. But at the same time, how useful will the whole convicted felon label be for the Democrats? That's something we'll have to see.
Think Trump did something illegal in the New York hush money case. I've been interested in whether or not these numbers would change at all during the course of this trial. Simply put, John, they have not. Pre-opening statements think Trump did something illegal, 46%. After the direct examination of Michael Cohen by the prosecution, look at where we are now, 46%. The percentage of Americans who think that the charges are very serious, in fact, dropped from 40% to a little bit more than 35% during the course of this trial. So, yes, perhaps things might have changed with those 12 jurors, but when it comes to the larger American public, there has been no change, at least so far, John.
Any possible reasons why?
Yeah, I think the question is, what's exactly cooking here? Why hasn't there been much of a change? While folks like you and me, real news junkies, might be paying really close attention to what's going on, the fact is most Americans don't really care that much. So closely following news about economy inflation, that's number one at 65%. Is Trump's court cases at 42%, significantly less than economy inflation. The fact is, John, when we're looking at these numbers, what we see is Americans' minds aren't changing, and a big reason why Americans' minds aren't changing is at this particular point, John, they are tuned out of the conversation.
And that's something also that we have to push back on, right? If you have family members that are maybe independent voters on the fence, but they're swayed by this whole convicted felon label, push back on them, point out how corrupt the trial was, point out that, look, would they be doing this to him if he wasn't against the system, et cetera, et cetera. But I guess that's the big question we will have to see. My instinct likely is that most people in the center just generally won't be moved by it, or they'll get over it, right? Because even, a lot of left-leaning sources have been saying, yeah, this whole trial is highly political and corrupt. And if anything, it may have just damaged the credibility of the justice system, even for people who are maybe a little more in the center.
The trials against him keep him in the spotlight, infuriate his base, who sees him as a martyr, and even may serve to make him the object of some sympathy among people in general who believe that his prosecutors are politically motivated. This happens to be true, in my opinion. I doubt the New York indictment would have been brought against a defendant whose name was not Donald Trump. A majority of Americans are skeptical that Trump will be able to get a fair trial, according to a CNN poll.
But again, that's far from guaranteed. We'll have to see. And that is certainly the Democrat playbook here, right? Is to try to change something about the game, change something about the current circumstances of the election. Because if the election is just about the pure political issues, whether it's the economy, immigration, foreign policy and national security, obviously, by polls, Joe Biden is very unpopular. Trump is much more popular than him, and Donald Trump beats Joe Biden on the issues. And so that's exactly why, as you saw back in 2020 with COVID and BLM, they are trying to throw something different out there so that this is not a conventional or normal election. And their hope now is they can try to make the election about Donald Trump's a convicted felon. Obviously, the American people have to reject him. The question, of course, is that going to work? I don't know. We have to make sure, however, that it does not work. Okay, so that's about what I have to say here, folks, about the Donald Trump situation. Again, don't let them use it to demoralize you. That's exactly what they're trying to do. And so this is why you got to hang your head up high, show that smile on your face, show the optimism, okay? This is a dark day for America, but we will see better days. The best is yet to come, truly. Believe that in your heart, because nothing, not lawfare, not Alvin Bragg, not Kathy Hochul, not Joe Biden can stop what is coming. We will make America great again. Believe that in your heart, believe that in your mind, and form that into action. Go vote, go get involved, speak up, because they're desperate. So let's finish the job. November 5th, 2024, the real verdict is coming. Okay, with that said, folks, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. What do you make of it? Where do you think it's all going to go? What do you think the impact's going to be? We'll have to find out. Be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, Alpha Moves Only. God bless. Have a very great rest of your day, and we will make America great again.
Thank you for joining us here today. Earlier this afternoon, Donald Trump was arraigned by a Manhattan grand jury on 34 felony counts.
This case is an abomination. It's obviously political. 7 years to try to come up with this case. They're just wrong on the law.
The only crime that Donald Trump is being prosecuted for is the crime of running for president.
Political persecution at the highest level.
They've quite frankly given up on trying to beat him at the polls. Either going to steal it or stop it by law firm.
A Democrat prosecutor elected on a Get Trump platform.
What's going on here is a disgusting disgrace. It is war on Trump, it is war on the Republican Party, and it is a war on the Republic.
This case is the weakest case I've seen in 60 years of teaching, practicing, and writing about criminal law.
And I doubt the New York indictment would have been brought against a defendant whose name was not Donald Trump.
This judge, you don't need a prosecutor if you have a judge like this. This judge is not on the level.
It's a terrible case, but the judge has been pretty much a rubber stamp on everything that Bragg has wanted to do.
They're perverting the system of justice. That's where the danger lies. The corruption and subversion of our institutions by the left.
This is the Democrats' entire strategy, to confine President Trump to a dirty criminal courtroom and keep him off the campaign trail where he can bring his winning message to voters across this country.
New York has become a legal banana republic. They are so determined to get Donald Trump.
Look, convicting Donald Trump, that's all they have.
I think they have no cards. And they're depending upon Trump getting convicted.
That Trump train doesn't show any signs of slowing down.
The only verdict that matters is the verdict at the ballot box.